Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a fascinating, heavily documented analysis of what the labor market is going to look like in 2026. Right now, we're sitting right at the intersection of a massive, profound structural shift. It's this fierce tension between unprecedented, almost unimaginable productivity and a very real, very human anxiety about the future of our livelihoods. So we're going to break down the complex transformations brought on by artificial intelligence using data directly from the source material to give you a clear, undeniable picture of what work looks like in the near future. Okay, let's dive into this, because the fundamental question on literally everyone's mind is simple. Is AI the end of human work? Well, when we look at the generative AI reality of 2026, the source material makes it pretty clear that we aren't looking at a total replacement of humanity. No way. We are, however, looking at a rapid, forceful evolution of our roles. It's not the end of work altogether, but it's absolutely the end of work exactly as we knew it in the pre-digital era. To truly understand this whole shebang, we have a clear roadmap for our analysis today. We'll be looking at 5 key data-driven pillars. First, the algorithmic reality. Second, sectoral impact. Third, the wage paradox. Fourth, the cost barrier. And finally, a new social contract. All right. Let's kick things off with our first pillar, the algorithmic reality. What we really need to grasp here is that by 2026, integrating AI into the global economy isn't some futuristic sci-fi movie anymore. It's a concrete structural reality that's actively redefining how we generate value. This whole reality was sparked by what the source calls the generative wave. You probably remember this really kicking off in 2023, but it wasn't just a tech upgrade, right? It was a profound social shift. It laid the foundation for the deep economic push and pull we're experiencing today, where the absolute thrill of hyperproductivity is matched right up against the deep-seated anxiety of being replaced. Moving right along to pillar number 2, sectoral impact. Now, what's really interesting about this data is who's actually taking the brunt of this revolution. The impact is incredibly polarized. Based on recent reports from the IMF and the International Labor Organization, about 40% of all jobs globally are exposed to AI. But if you look at advanced economies, that number rockets up to 60%. Advanced economies, which rely so heavily on knowledge and service work, just face a much, much higher vulnerability to algorithmic disruption. And this reveals a super fascinating historical contrast. Think back to the automation of the 20th century that mostly targeted physical, blue-collar labor on the factory floor. But ironically, contemporary AI is going straight for the white-collar desk jobs. We're talking finance, legal, IT. Meanwhile, tactile, physical roles like agriculture, construction, and personal care, they remain naturally resilient. Why? Because physical adaptability and human empathy are natural barriers. Turns out it's way easier to code a spreadsheet than it is to code a bedside manner. To put the scale of this white-collar disruption into perspective, just look at the staggering efficiency gains in the service sector. Take the legal field. Tasks like contract review and case law research used to require armies of junior analysts poring over documents. Now, algorithms process massive volumes of risk analysis data in literally fractions of a second. AI is reducing legal execution time by an incredible 70%. That is huge. And it's not just the analytical stuff either. It's deeply impacting creative industries and media too. The really surprising fact here is that AI tools haven't entirely replaced human creativity. Instead, they've just fundamentally raised the speed standard. An AI-assisted designer can pump out 10 times more product variants than a traditional one. 10 times. So the market is consolidating, and basically only those who master these AI tools are going to remain competitive. You aggregate all of this, and you hit a massive estimate from Goldman Sachs, 300 million jobs globally exposed to automation. Now, I know that sounds super intimidating, but the source provides a really crucial reassurance here. While those jobs are exposed, a massive number of entirely new roles are constantly popping up. Think about the giant data infrastructure, the physical server farms, and the complex energy maintenance needed just to keep these AI compute centers running. Which brings us to pillar 3, the wage paradox. And this brilliantly illustrates a key question. If AI makes us so incredibly fast and productive, who exactly is getting the financial reward? Well, according to the PwC Barometer 2025, workers who possess strong AI skills are seeing a massive 56% wage premium compared to their peers who don't have those abilities. The financial rewards are skewing heavily toward a very specific skill set. The source actually calls this the competence premium. In mature markets like the US, the UK, and Germany, the demand for specialists in prompt engineering, AI ethics, and systems integration is just vastly outpacing the supply. This premium is driving up average incomes for those specific specialists, but at the exact same time, it's deepening overall income inequality across the broader workforce. But there is definitely a dark side to this paradox. The source warns of a looming erosion of the middle class. While highly skilled roles are booming and physical labor is still totally necessary, the jobs that traditionally formed the backbone of the middle class, administrative roles, secretarial work, basic customer support, data entry, these are perfectly suited for total absorption by algorithms, and that leads straight to stagnant wages and severely reduced negotiating power for those workers. So, that takes us to Pillar 4, the cost barrier. You might be wondering, if efficiency is so sky high, why isn't every single business out there doing this today? Well, the answer lies in the entry threshold. Adopting AI is not cheap, and it is certainly not easy. The sheer cost of implementation, from licensing to compute power to just acquiring the talent, acts as a massive braking factor for small and medium enterprises. It really threatens to create this unbridgeable competitive divide, where megacorporations with huge resources pull exponentially ahead of smaller businesses that simply can't afford the algorithmic entry ticket. And finally, we arrive at Pillar 5, a new social contract. How can society possibly resolve these intense structural paradoxes and make sure the transition is fair? The analysis points to 3 critical steps. First, continuous education absolutely has to become the norm to avoid economic marginalization. Second, we need accessible reskilling programs. And third, regulating benefits. It is so imperative for governments and organizations to forge fair public policies that democratize access to this tech and actually distribute the economic benefits generated by this massive spike in productivity. So, the crucial point is this. Ultimately, the success of integrating AI into our labor market won't be measured by the raw number of algorithms we deploy. It's going to be measured by society's capacity to maintain the dignity and relevance of human work in an era of supreme automation. And that leaves us with the single most important takeaway of this entire analysis. The 2026 labor market isn't some distant fiction. It's the reality being built around us right now. You've seen the data, the sectoral shifts, and the massive premium placed on new skills. So the question isn't whether the revolution is coming, it's already here. The real question is, how are you preparing for the algorithmic reality? Take all this information, assess your own skills, and stay curious. Keep learning.